Hello, good evening. Hello, everybody. Hiohomi Takiape, Eva Cordovi, Machiape, Malakota, and Taos Pueblo. My Thama is Joseph Conquilla Cordova. My Ina or my cause, Patricia Crow Cordova. I'm sixth generation from Chief Red Cloud. I'm the owner operator of AC and Associates. I am extremely excited to be here tonight. Thank you for joining us. And if you're new to this live, thanks for joining us. Today, what we're doing is, or what I'm doing, um, is I am having a winter wisdom series, December's daily dose. So, what does that mean? It means that I'm jumping live. I'm challenging myself to jump on live every day in the month of December to have conversation, to have chat, to talk to you, to engage, to provide you a friend during sometimes for some people. A time when they might feel lonely or they might feel like there's nobody around. So today is Sunday Fun Day. Today is December 4th and it's about 6:10. So if you saw some advertisement that I did, I said 6-ish. So what does 6-ish mean? To me, 6-ish means anytime from 6 to 7 o'clock. Even if it's 6:59, it's 6-ish. So thanks for hopping on with me and let's have a conversation. Today is Sunday Fun Day. My Chargers played today. Unfortunately, they didn't take the W, but I'm always um, a Charger fan for life, even when they win or lose. But if you'd like to tell us where you're checking in from, use the comments. We'll be able to interact with you. We'll be able to engage with you. We'll be able to highlight your comments and let us know where you're checking in from. So today, throughout these days that I'm going to be hanging out with you all, I've invited a couple of people maybe to jump on with me. And one of the people that have accepted my invitation is somebody that I've actually just recently been more interactive with, more engaging with, been doing some work stuff with, but I always find this amazing, beautiful woman funny and hardworking, a great mother. So I'm going to bring her on and have her introduce herself. It's the one and only Boo 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 Jaway. So Jaway, why don't you turn on your camera, yay, and unmute yourself and let's have a conversation. How are you?
I'm crazy. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's
All
been a
the rumors are true. I'm crazy, but how are you doing?
That's
um,
funny.
yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Jue Roybal Castle. My mother is Rosemary Roybal. My father is Richard Dean Castle. I come from the Osage Muskogee Creek and the absentee Shawnee people. I was born to the Cree people up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, at Small Boy Camp. However, I have called Los Angeles home since I've been about 10 years old, 10 years old. And so, Gabrielino Tongva, Quiche, Shumash, territory. I don't want to leave anybody out, So those are the lands that I occupy. And so, just happy to be here today and happy to be in the space with you, Ava, also.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I know, Joy, that you wear a lot of many hats, I think. I think we all do, but I definitely see you very busy in LA and even Alcatraz. You recently went to Alcatraz for Thanksgiving. I know that you do a lot of heart work. My sister calls it heart work, and I love that we do what our heart um, encourage us encourages us to do, and also we get a lot of love through that heart. And although if we could live a free life and not have bills or not worry about money. I know that a lot of us, and maybe including yourself, would do it for free. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's how I feel. You know, when I was working for an agency and um, are working for different places, I didn't get a raise, and I was like, I'm not in it for the raise, but I do need to make money to pay my bills. So, why don't you tell us what you did in the past few weeks when you went to San Francisco? Because I know a lot of people would love to hear it.
Depends on the rumors that you heard. I will neither confirm nor deny. Ain't that what they say? No, actually, I'm a community organizer currently. I've been in this role since April, I believe, with California Native Vote Project as a community organizer. Um, and I guess I was born into the community organizer role because of things that my parents did and because of things that my grandparents did. Um, and it was just something that we do, right? We see something wrong, and I've grown up in a family that it's very hard for me to just walk by and be silent when those things are happening. And so I didn't even know that there was a job as a community organizer. Um, I am somebody who um, I think because of the work that my parents did politically and culturally and socially, that oftentimes, you try to do good, but you make a lot of enemies in the process, right? Um, because other people may not be in alignment or have the same agenda. And sometimes, even though we're trying to help our people, people will be offended with that. For whatever reason, you're not doing it right, or you didn't double bag the bag, or whatever it was, right? Um, so I've learned to accept that no good deed goes unpunished. And I didn't really understand that. I would get really sad oftentimes when people would misunderstand things that I was doing. Um, and one time I was talking to my younger brother, and he's my little big brother. We all have those that rescue us. And so I was upset and talking to him one day, and he let me know. He says, Joy, no good deed goes unpunished. And it's like, even though we come from our heart, that heart place where we want to support our community and help our relatives, and see our friends succeed, a lot of times, we don't intentionally hurt people along the way, but people get hurt along the way. So it's a lot of like learning that in community, right? That we're trying to band together. But we have so much generational trauma, I think, within our communities that um, it it's hard for us to accept help. It's hard for us to ask for help. It's hard for us to genuinely receive it. And so those are some of the challenges that we deal with. I feel like, and to try to not get discouraged in the process, because I've quit in my mind, right? Like, I'm never going to help nobody ever again. Get all indignant. But how did it? But let me get a phone call right now. I'll be right there. I'll be right there. Hold on. Let me put on some shoes. Um, so, it's just that thing that's in us to um I think fix those things oftentimes for that inner child in ourselves that didn't get that help.
Mm.
People have asked, there were times where I was homeless and I'd still be out there helping folks, and because it was just normal. It was just community, like we feed each other. You don't have the right jacket that fits your baby. Well, mine just grew out of this, so you can have it. And it's like
Mhm,
this circular thing that we always take care of one another and look out for one another. And so being in a community like Los Angeles is challenging. And even, our sister city counties, i.e., OC, because we're so disconnected.
mhm.
And so that's why it's great that you and I keep bumping into each other in all our different circles and our work that we're doing, and that we took the time to say, maybe we should do some stuff together because we just keep bumping into each other. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same way, but I've kind of taken heed now as I'm getting I'm a grandma 3 times. Um, and so 4 times. Look, see, I haven't gone down to meet my fourth grandchild yet. And I need to go down to the Thanatham reservation. Um, and so, it's really challenging being a single parent. Um, I'm raising my fifth son. My others are grown, but we go through these things of working in community and trying to balance family. And I think oftentimes when we're children that have been raised in the movement, also, we have that kind of disconnect from our families sometimes because we were so used to them being gone
Mm,
to have to do certain things. Um, and so sometimes we yearn for those connections with our families and our communities. Um, and so that's kind of like some of the work that I'm trying to do in connection with a lot of the community work is some healing too.
mhm.
Um, and so that's why I'm happy to be in a lot of spaces with you because I just feel like you just bring that big anti-healing energy.
Aw, thank you. I appreciate that. I know that, as I went to a powwow this weekend and you were there and there was a lot of people there and, um, every time I see you, you're always funny and laughing and, helping people out. And, recently we got to work together, on the housing issue that came up. And then there was another issue that a young high school student in on Arcadia High School brought to my attention, which we've known for a while. If you live in Arcadia or the surrounding areas, Arcadia is in the San Gabriel Valley, which is probably, if you're not familiar, like I always refer to like the SGV near Pasadena because Pasadena Rose Parade, but it's more Arcadia is more east if you're looking towards mountains. Anyways, Arcadia has their mascot as the Apaches, and it's been a big issue for a very long time. And a senior from that school came to me and was like, "I feel guilty every single day that I go to school because of that name, because um, she is um Akamel Otham. She's Otham. So um, it's hard for her to go to school when her school represents a mascot that's an Apache. But because they say that um, they have the permission of San Carlos Apache, it's okay. But she's still struggling with things. And I mean, just to see the name, I would think as an Indian grandma or as an Indian parent that my child would feel the same way, or I would feel the same way as well. So I tell you all of this story because when this young beautiful individual came to me and was like, "Can you help me? Because I feel like I don't have a support system or that community isn't helping." I I did a call out and Jue was one of the individuals and she was right on that call and, providing us with all kinds of great things that LA County has done with regards to Indigenous education now. So I really wanted to say thank you. You say like, and when you were introducing or talking earlier, you said, I was homeless, but I still helped people. I mean, you have that giving heart and I appreciate that. And I have not heard any rumors about you. But I'm not a kind of person that's likes to listen to gossip.
Mhm.
I'm not that kind of person. So I don't think nobody would come to me with that. But I what I have heard is that you're funny, that you're very passionate, and from my own selves, I know that you're hardworking. So I appreciate you being here and jumping on today's live with me. Like I said again, I'm going to be going live every day in December. Um, as we as we grow older, as we live our lives, yes, it is hard to live in Los Angeles. The holiday seasons are coming up. Yes, it is hard because some individuals have passed and we may miss them and we might be going through grief. But how do we get through that? And for me, it's being able to be a supportive person to to not to help when I can help is basically what I'm trying to say, and yes, I have given the shirt off my back to somebody, my sister, my twin sister, but to other people as well.
Mhm.
So I before we started this live, I was asking Joy what she wants to talk about or what she wants to say, and I was like, I love how you do jokes, and can you believe it? She's like a stand-up comedy comic, a woman stand-up strong comic. So there's a lot of different things that we could talk about, but we're just having a visit, and glad that you guys are all here to join us.
Yeah, and I also want to mention, um I don't bring up the fact that I've been homeless and still continue to help folks like in a braggadocious way. It's just a matter of lifestyle. I mean, just because I'm recently in a place where my son has his own room for the first time. So for me, I feel like all the different lessons and things that I've gone through, um, it may have hurt, but it really just gave me focus, right, on what's truly important during a lot of times. And so bill collectors don't like me all the time. I said, look, sir, ma'am, I just got in a place. And so let me get my life together first, and then I'll talk to you. So humor is how we get through it. I lost my brother. I'd like to say his name, Johnny Chance Castle. He was my big brother, and the last of my brothers from my father, Richard Dean Castle, who had also passed away in 2014. And then I lost my brother, Patch Little Star Knight Castle. He committed suicide the year following my father's death.
Mm,
And then I lost my big brother during COVID.
mm,
Um, Unfortunately, um, he was my last connection, and then I lost my uncle that was my surrogate dad, through my dad, and so I lost a lot of those folks in a short amount of time, and so I was trying to do something different, and usually I'm really good at self-imploding, right? And how do they call self-destruction? I know how to do that really well, and we leave collateral damage in around us when we do that. We think we're just hurting ourselves, but we hurt others around us too. And so this time I shaved my head. I shaved my head and I continued to get on stage and to perform. And I had some people like my sister Roz Washington, just really push me. And people would pick me up and make sure that I got to go to comedy shows. Just because a lot of comics, we deal with a lot of mental health,
mhm.
depression issues, um, some of the most hilarious people are the ones that are hurting the most. And so, through this journey, um, um, I just continued to keep getting up on stage and having people check on me. Um, I kept doing things in community. And there were a lot of times where I just got up on stage and I just ranted. And I'm sure people in the audience were like, what is that all about? I had like one eyelash on and one half an eyebrow, and I was bald headed, just going, just it was all bad. But people identified with it. People identified with it, and people may not have understood it, but it's just like, okay, just keep going. And so a lot of people actually identified with it because they were hurting, and they saw the hurt and the attempt to just break through and make fun of it and laugh. And I think that that's part of our healing journey, is that
Mm,
people think we have dark or sick humor, but our lives oftentimes are not a bed of roses.
mm,
And so, what else can we do? We've cried so many tears. We've done things to hurt ourselves and hurt our families, and so we have to turn it into another art form, right? And
mm,
so when we're in the streets, we may not necessarily have the access to even pens and paper to draw something out or to write something out. We may not have phone service to be on Wi-Fi to be connected with folks. So it's there's a lot of comics that sleep in their cars. There's
mhm,
a lot of comics that have gym memberships so that they can shower.
mhm,
There's a lot of folks that this has been happening. I've been doing comedy since 2011. Um, and it there's just so many people that are hurting in different ways. And I think a combination of our culture and laughter. Um, I've been, just learning to cook again because I didn't have a kitchen for a long time.
mhm.
So my dishes hate me. They can't stand me, and I can't stand them either, to be truthfully told. um, but just relearning those things. I think when we go through trauma, our brain breaks a little bit, and so we kind of have to relearn how to do things, and sometimes laughing is one of those things. Learning how to laugh again, learning how to find joy in just the smallest things, going out and taking a walk and admiring the leaves and the change of season. We When we get in these states where we're missing people that have transitioned, um, and even being parents, right? That our children are growing up and now starting families of their own. Sometimes we get left out of the equation, and then it's like, wait a minute, I got all these stretch marks from you, little ingrates, for what? Right? And then you crying and showing up at their house, and oh, mama's just so crazy and just unmanageable. And it's like, no, you're abandoning me. How could you? So we go through these emotions and these changes and these heartbreaks, and then everybody's supposed to be, but you're just supposed to get up and then just manage everything and make me breakfast while you at it, and you're like, I can't. So it was a lot of that, relearning life after so many changes had happened. And I feel like, across the board, that happens for so many of us. As soon as there's no more uniforms to wash, or dirty socks to holler and pick up your dirty socks, um, we miss that when it's not there.
Mhm.
And so it's a lot of learning to be thankful of where I'm at presently, instead of like living in the past and being sad, and just stopping my whole life, because I did that too. I love blankets. I could cuddle up in a blanket and just stay in a cocoon. But then I remember that my brother would not want that for me. That they would want me to get up and carry on, living in a good way, and trying to pursue some dreams. Right. I've been going to college for like 30 years. Eventually, you know, I got my GED when I was like 20. Trying to think how many kids I had. Wait, I was thinking, I think I was I think I was 22. I had only been divorced once by that time. So that's when I had got my GED. And then, with life, right? We put even though I'm about to be a bad mom, but I stopped college because I had things that I needed to do for my kids, right? So I've been going to college for like 30 years. So I'm like the most educated person without a degree. And that's why when people think I'm stupid, I just let them. I've gone to every community college. I've gone, I probably had their grandparents teaching me and stuff, and they don't even know. But you know, it's like we just kind of roll with the punches, everything that I had thought, that was going to happen in a certain way in life. It's like somebody got a snow globe, right? This is not a snow globe, it's a container with tea. And it's like somebody, your life is just going and just so happy. And then all of a sudden somebody grabs a snow globe and shakes it up. And then there's your life. It's just swirling and trying to figure out what's happening. And so I think what really has saved me has been being able to go to culture. And what I mean by that is just, um, going to powwows, being in community. Oftentimes I sometimes I couldn't even go dance, right? Because a lot of times we can't afford regalia if you're going through things. But I would just wanted to go sit and be near the drums.
Mhm.
Um, and so, those are things that help get us, back to one, as I call it. Um,
Mhm.
and then the performing is like an outlet. Um, for a long time I would do karaoke too. Um, and just either singing or making people laugh, just engaging with people, that energy back and forth. I really have to walk into a room full of oftentimes drunk and angry people in a
Mm,
bar,
mm,
because that's where we do a lot of comedy, or at bars.
mhm,
And so who goes to bars but depressed people, people that just broke up with their baby mama, baby daddies, whatever just happened, right? And so I walk in and they're like, "What in the heck is that? And what's going on?" So I have to walk into a room full of strangers and engage them, and make them like me and make them laugh. And then, hopefully they'll add me on Instagram or whatever, and then they'll stalk me from afar. That's my whole goal, is to make people stalk me that I don't know. No, but that's really what the comedy has done. And even when I'm sitting around the house too much, my kids will be like, "Mom, don't you have comedy to go to? Isn't there an open mic or something you should be at tonight?" And I'm like, "Dang, you don't want me around you?" And they're like, "I didn't say that, but isn't there somewhere you can go?" So it's they can definitely tell the difference when I'm not in a good headspace.
mm.
Maybe the yelling and throwing things. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe that's the indicator. Oh, stay away from that one. She's not having a good day or whatever. But yeah, I try to draw on my eyebrows to let them know how I'm feeling too. Gauge my emotions based on how my eyebrows are drawn. Uh,
Uh-oh. So
yeah.
we better we know your secret then.
Today I'm happy surprised. Yeah. Um, yeah, when they're not drawn on, that's because you just really need to guess what's gonna happen next. I joke that I'm like a walking telenovela. In case you don't speak Spanish and don't know what that is, that's a Mexican soap opera. Yeah, so, well, Spanish soap opera because they're aired in several countries. But yeah, it's I don't know about you, April, but and then it's challenging, right? We have to really like walk in a couple of worlds. We have to maintain who we are, culturally, tribally, spiritually, in a world where they always tell us that whatever is inherent to us and that is in us and that has been taught to us is wrong.
Mhm.
Whether it's been our language, whether it's been the way that we pray, whether it's be the way that we sing, whether it's been the way we wear our hair. And so I'll go back to what you were asking about with Alcatraz, and through the organization that I'm working with, California Native Vote Project, um, as a community organizer, we also have youth organizers. And we had our youth organizers actually lead this trip, one of our families in particular. And she has been attending since she's been 3 years old. So she came and brought her sister, and they actually pulled out pictures of themselves when they used to attend Alcatraz back in the day with their mama, their daddy, their brother, their grandma. It was a family thing. And to be led by the youth is very encouraging to me, because being a young person growing up in Los Angeles, I often felt disconnected, not wanted, like an outcast, like, a sore thumb, like there was no right place for me to be, because, like I said, my paternal side of the family is from Oklahoma. My maternal side of the family is from New Mexico and Colorado. And then I was born in Canada. So I may have looked like other folks in LA, but I wasn't necessarily like them. And so growing up, I always felt alone. Um, and we moved a lot because of the work that my parents did prior to settling down in LA. Like every year, I was in a different school. Sometimes twice a year, I was in a different school. So my experiences were really different, to where I didn't really learn how to connect with people, or I knew how, but I just figured that I was going to be leaving anyway. So there was really no purpose for me to attach too many ties with folks. So that was really challenging as a child, and then trying to set roots, and not having community, like the Osage Nation, the Shawnee Nation, the Muskogee Creek family. I didn't have those right nearby me, right? Ceremonies happened in June. It was an invite only. People had to be able to have transportation and money to go back. And, coming from a single family home, there was no way for us to get back to ceremony, and so that's what a lot of our folks in LA miss, I think, a lot of times, if you don't come from a family that, can do that. And so being able to go back to Alcatraz, for me, was a big deal, because um, my father was also a carrier for the Hopi elders, and he worked with Elder Thomas Banyaka. And so I have a picture of him at Alcatraz with Elder Thomas Banyaka, and with some of the other Hopi elders, um, back in the day. And so it was kind of full circle that I was able to attend, and then to take my youngest son, my 15-year-old son, with me. Bishop was a huge blessing, especially from our lessons and struggles that we had been dealing with, because it wasn't just me homeless, it was my son also. And there were different phases in my life where I had gone through homelessness, because I came from that mentality, like I said, of not wanting to settle roots, right? A lot of times. And if I felt threatened, or my children didn't feel like we're in a good place, I would pack my black hefty trash bag, and right, the native luggage, grab my babies and be like, "Well, we leaving then. Bye." You ain't gonna tell me twice. I'm leaving. So it was normal for me to live like a nomadic life. I didn't realize I was, like, traumatizing my kids in the process, you know?
Mm,
And because it was something that, to me was normal that we picked up and left, it was just no big deal. And and you know, it took my youngest son, like, getting sick, from his, like, nerves, you know, just this last episode we had, um, season 15. No, you know, it made me, like, look at things differently and like, "Oh, dang, this isn't normal."
mm,
Just so many things that, growing up with trauma or growing up with,
oh,
without without a white picket fence
mhm,
that, that I'm realizing now, you know, I have the ability to change those things and give different experiences. Um, and those different experiences are scary. I know how to pack a black trash bag, you know, from the 99-cent store or from Hefty. Either way, I'm gonna make it work. Um,
mhm,
but you know, doing things differently is challenging. And so I take those experiences and talk about it on stage with my stand-up comedy. Um, and I figure, you know, if I take this to a therapist, they're gonna put it in a file and it'll wind up in someone's basement and someone will wind up reading it anyways. I might as well get up on stage and tell my own story the way I want to say it and just drop some F-bombs in there too if I want to,
mm,
and then have people take pictures of me while I'm doing it. So that's actually been working better for me, personally. um, you know, it's we've we've had so many you know, shakeups, like I said, like the snow globe shakeups, right? Or the tea in the canister shakeups that when we have positive things coming into our lives, we also don't know how to accept them many times.
mm,
Um, when you come from a place of trauma, like you just go into survival mode. And so when you get to a place of you're actually surviving and then you can learn how to thrive a little bit, it's different.
mm,
Um it can be very scary. It can be very scary.
mhm,
So, yeah, and then, you know, this is my baby of the babies is going to be growing up, and he'll probably have a college degree before I will.
mm,
And then, you know, I gotta figure out what Imma do with my life. What Imma be when I grow up? I don't know.
mhm,
But in the meantime, I just have been very blessed to have fallen into the role that I am in currently,
mm,
um, because I it gives me life to be able to, help other folks. Can you give me 1 sec?
mhm. So as Joy comes back to us or does what she has to do, I'm really thankful and grateful that she can be here tonight to talk about a lot of different things. We heard her being able to tell us about going to Alcatraz and that trip being led by youth, and also her son on his way to being a college academic. Our life and struggles in our life are a lot, and they can um, definitely bring us down, or they can also take us places. So, as you go through your daily lives, and as Jue had said, she turned to comedy, and, there's always different things that we can turn to. One of the big things that I've turned to as I've grown up is community and culture or traditions. I know that culture is prevention, and it helps me on a daily basis from being able to know where in California or where in LA that I can go harvest medicine such as sage or cedar or, things like that that help me. And, living in LA, I don't know why it's so hard to find the LA Indian community, but when people come here, a lot of the times they get lost because they don't find it. They don't know where it is. But um, as we connect and as we reach out for help, I know it is hard to reach out for help, but as we do that, there is a vast amount of resources in the LA Indian community and in LA in general. I know that um, Joey mentioned that she worked at California Native Vote Project. They do a lot of great community outreach, and I can have her talk about that and what they do. But I just want everybody to know that there is help out there if you need it. I know that first we gotta be make the first step and say that we're in need of help, or we need it. But even if you want to reach out to myself, I'd be happy to connect you to different resources that I use. I mean, I'm not the most connected person, or I'm not the most educated person. I only have a semester of Haskell under my belt, and Bryman administration medical administrative um like certificate, but I make things work. And how do I do that? My community helps me so much a lot, and YouTube, I've learned a lot from YouTube. So, but also that being said is I try to make it work for myself. I make sure to educate myself. And yes, I also, when I walk into a room, sometimes don't feel like I'm the most educated person, or maybe even the right person to be in that room. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. We had lunch, and I used to work at a organization that provided mental health, and I always felt like I wasn't educated enough for those therapists, because I was in a room full of PhDs, MAs, BAs, AAs, and I didn't have any of those letters behind me. And I always felt a little bit less than. But as I worked there for several years, the thing that I remember that gave me what I needed to feel like I can stand up to those other people, or be equal to those other people, is that I had my community. I knew who my community was. I knew relationships in my community. I knew different individuals in my community. And that's something that a therapist or a person who's working in the community didn't know. And it's important for non natives who work in a native environment to have some of respect and thoughts and education around our Indian community, because it's a lot different than a Washichu way, or the Western way, the white way. Um, One, like Indian time, what is that? Two, we got to make sure that we're not just taking care of one individual, but we're taking care of the thoughts of their family as well, because you know, that's what a lot of our families, like when I help somebody, or when I used to go into a home, I wasn't just thinking of that one person, because as Joey mentioned before, like certain instances, suicide, addiction, homelessness, anger management, anger issues, all of those things, they don't just affect you as an individual. They affect the whole family, the whole community, or that whole circle that surrounds that person or individual. I heard Joy mention that, she has witnessed in her own family, the aftermaths, or, you know, of tragedies such as suicide. And I myself have too. I can name a whole bunch of people um that have taken their lives, but I also want to mention the great things that they did for the family, the things that I learned from them as an individual. My cousin brother, Julio Marable, um he passed away a couple of years ago to suicide. And one of the things that I remember him telling me, because I would go back home and people would say, "Where are you from?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm from LA," really excited and proud that I was from LA. And they'd be like, "Oh," like, and my cousin would say, "You never say you're from LA. First, you're from Taos Pueblo and you live in LA," because that's where I come from. My family comes from Taos Pueblo on my dad's side. and my family comes from Oglala, Lakota on my mom's side. So when I introduce myself or say my introductions, Hiohomi Takiape, Ava Cordovi, Machiape, Malakota, and Taos Pueblo. My Thama is Joseph Conquilla Cordova. My Eater and my cause, Patricia Crow Cordova. I'm sixth generation from Chief Red Cloud. When I say that introduction, if somebody was in the room and they're Taos Pueblo or they're Oglala, Lakota, they would only take from pieces of that introduction because I use both languages to introduce who I am because it's personal to me. So, my Ina, my Ina is my mom. That's how you say mom in Lakota on my mom's side, or Ka, which is Taos Pueblo to say your mom, on my dad's side. So I mix those up to make me who I am. And I always say, when we live throughout our life and we say, we're going through a day and say my I'm driving somewhere and my tire blows out and something else happens and then something else. And I always say, people always say, if it's not one thing, if it's another, and make it a big old day about the issue that happened. But I always like to say it's life. It happens. And how are we going to get through it? It's also like words to me are big. We can either um voice our what we want out loud because it needs to be said, or we can just, not and still think of um how we're going to get to where we want to get to. I'm talking about with regards to like goals and stuff. Like for me, goals, I like to say them out loud. I always have these crazy ideas and I mention them to my friends. And my friends, guess what? They help me to make those goals happen. I also, when I write in my journal, which is right here, I always like to write in the color blue because blue, I don't know, I heard somewhere that it makes it get into your mind more. See, these are the ideas that I don't have a college degree, so I wouldn't be able to explain the whole thing. But the little tips that I hear from people, or I like to watch a lot of YouTube, positive energy, or Native Wellness Institute has great tips and YouTubes out there. I definitely take from what I hear and try to make my life a lot better. My life is not great at all. I mean, it is great in some ways and it's not great in some ways, but I always take my life day to day, because one day could be great and I can be blessed and I can, have something, and then the next day, I could be in my bed and not want to get out, or not want to, you know, um, be um, out in society, out in the world. But I do definitely appreciate my community for helping me to be the entrepreneur that I am. And again, I just want to say thank you, Joey, for being here. I know if you have some more stuff you'd like to share, we can still talk, or let me know what you'd like to do.
It's up to you. I also wanted to touch on, you were mentioning resources within community, and I think sometimes, um, and this may be because oftentimes we come from experiences where they say, okay, they're giving away free food, but to only 40 families. And so so it's like, okay, we have to tell so and so, but we can't tell too many people or else they're going to run out of food. And so, unfortunately, I think that that's the mindset that's programmed into a lot of us in community, to where there are resources and there are programs available for us, that it's like that. There's this program, but only tell so and so and so and so. And so we exclude one another oftentimes and make things harder for each other than we need to. And I think that that's part of the problem. Even I touched on it a little bit with regard going back home. And oftentimes those can be exclusionary experiences too,
Mm.
where if you don't grow up, like you said, right? Your cousin said, don't tell them that you're from LA. Well, you know, um, when oftentimes you go back home and sometimes you're not received well, You're not welcomed in. People want to look at you like, who are you and where are you from? And then they learn who your family is and then they want to talk to you. Well, at that point, I don't want to talk to you anymore
Mm,
because I already saw how you looked at me. So those are things that a lot of times I think that we don't really speak of, but that's what a lot of us urban natives encounter.
mhm,
Where if we want to go home and we want to be included and we want to learn the way, but then people are going like this to us.
mhm,
Do you know that in a lot of the different situations that I've encountered, and I'm not going to say which tribe, but one of my three nations, I've met people twice, and I was very eager to see them because there aren't very many of us around Southern California. So when I got excited and I'm like, "Oh, hi, I'm Jue," they took their hands and they put them right behind their backs and they looked at me just like that.
mm,
And I said, "All right, okay." It broke my heart a little bit. Broke my heart a little bit. These are the experiences that we have as urban native people that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And a lot of times, that comes with the families that we're from, right? Allotments, disenrollments, blood quantum, right? All these different things that come into play. Things that our parents have done, experiences that our families have had. And so, a lot of times we're punished for that. And so I've noticed that sometimes community members oftentimes cut off that part of themselves and just assimilate into community, into the society because it's easier than having to go and ask for help from our own community sometimes. There were some times where I had to go through tribal TANF, and let me tell you, that was, if anything would have sent me over the edge, it was some of those experiences because I literally had to cry and say buzzwords. Well, why didn't you say that? Because I'm in trauma and I'm in the middle of the street and I'm trying to get my son housed and I don't know what to do. And so there were times where it's like our own community almost makes it harder for us. And we need to talk about those things too. Um, instead of embracing one another, we look at one another like we're competition and we're not. There could be a million different shows and things for us, by us, brands, to where our children and our grandchildren can. It's starting to change, but again, there's that whole competition factor where we're not each other's competition, and I think that that's part of us having to unlearn a lot of things so that we can feel even safe to learn our culture, because then you have people in community that make fun of you for not knowing things too. You have, where a lot of our cultures are just relearning languages because they were hidden. And so now there's this resurgence. And what makes me sad is when, some of us have been taught some things and the others have not. And so it's like, um, almost like how we joke about, I joke about my degree, and I had somebody one time tell me, get in my face and tell me, you be proud of that GED, you earned that. And I did. I really had to go through it. I had two babies. I was a single mom. I got out of an abusive relationship, like the type you had to jump out of cars to get away from. I'm not scared of fighting women because I fight men. So that I loved. So for me to get to that point to where I could get a GED was a big deal. And then to have other folks in community then make you feel less than, because they were blessed to get a college degree and life was different, right? Our experiences were different. Um, it can be very hurtful. So I think, um, part of identifying our community members are are we have to step outside of where we look for community. And that's something that we've talked about before. I just feel like sometimes there's the same families that are always serviced because they know where to go for the resources. So there's a big disconnect on people and how they can get resources. And so there's so much money left on the table that it's almost wasteful because we can't find folks because we oftentimes have excluded folks in the past. And so they figure, well, I can't qualify for that, or they're not going to help me, or, I'm not enough. It comes down to I'm not enough. And that really hurts me to hear folks say, because like we were talking about at the beginning, um, I was asked why when I started doing um, community organizer work, and it comes down to oftentimes we didn't have those people as children to help guide us. And so I feel like there's a responsibility once we have that knowledge to share it with other people. My dad said, if you don't know something, then you're not responsible for it. But once you ask the question and once you have that knowledge, then you have a responsibility to do something with it. And I feel like that is also with the resources and the opportunities that there are for our community members to do something different and to step into different leadership roles, to understand that having lived experiences oftentimes can overshadow a degree. That because we do have these understandings of what it feels like to have to fill out the forms in triplicate and then fax it and then do all these things when you're living out of the trunk of your car, that just make these barriers harder and harder and harder. And like you said, when you help people, you realize that you weren't just helping them, it was the entire household. It's a bigger thing than just that one person.
Mhm.
So oftentimes, when a person can't get to a job interview or they can't get to be employed, there are many factors why they can't get there. But people just want to say, "Oh, they just lazy." Hold on for me one second.
Mhm. Thank you, Joy, for saying all that. Um, it also is, when I think about it, one of the hardest things to do when you start wanting to ask for help is definitely stepping outside your comfort zone to go and ask for help. That's such a big deal, and it can be scary doing that. So I just want to encourage people that are coming into a season that carries a lot of things. For some people, they can be lonely. Make sure to go out and check on your elders. Make sure that we go out and can share if you have meal or if you have extra food, take it to a family friend, or, take it to somebody that might um, haven't had a meal for a while. Um, I just want to say, um, if you're searching for help, if you're looking for help, if you are needing someone to talk to, there is a 211. There is also a new line that um, is a government, uh, I shouldn't say government, but it's 988, which means that if you dial 988 on your telephone, and you need somebody to talk to you, that there will be somebody on the end of the line to talk to you, um, if you're having some difficulties or struggles, or are contemplating, you know, whatever is in your head, or, you know, um, thinking about your life. 988 is another number that you can reach out to. Um, so, Jaway, is there other?
Yeah, I just want to reemphasize calling 988 and not calling the 911 number, because unfortunately we know that when a lot of our family members are in distress, They look at it as if we're aggressive or we are a threat. And so, just really be mindful of that. Part of the work that I do within California Native Vote Project is transformative justice. We work with folks coming out of the system, whether it's the foster care system, it's folks facing police brutality issues. Um, we deal with a lot of that because it's generational. We have a lot of generational trauma that folks have carried over, and that unfortunately we still have a lot of issues with. And so we have broken families because of a lot of the systems that are in place. And so, in working with transformative justice and work that we do there, we need to bring voice to a lot of these things that people have experienced, because unfortunately we're taught that we don't talk about those things. um, I had a police department do a well person check on me. I wound up with a female officer on my back and arrested for a day and a half. They wound up giving me a detainment certificate. I didn't get any charges or anything. I'd left with some nice bruises and everything, but my eyelashes stayed intact too. um, and then they went on Instagram the next day and posted a selfie in the same spot where they violated me.
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
I'm talking about, right. So, and I'm a 50-year-old grandmother.
Mm,
So I know what they do to our men, and I know what they do to our youth that don't follow the norms, that don't look like the norm. And so, with that all being said, those are other issues that we have to deal with during during the seasons that oftentimes other people don't deal with. We have family members that go missing. We have family members that are incarcerated. We have family members that are in foster care system. We have a lot of issues that unfortunately plague our community at a higher rate. And so those are things that I get to work with community about. We've done some things in conjunction with Homeboy Industries. We're doing some things with regards to Indigenous education now in LAUSD. We're sitting across from the superintendent. He knows my face and my hair well. And so, and having conversations with them about bullying our children, our boys with braids is not okay. Making fun of our children because our names are hard and different is not okay.
mm,
Excluding us and our languages from the school system and our history is not okay. So, all of these things, acknowledging whose lands we are, is something that we must do.
mm,
How are you going to have an Olvera Street, a Chinatown, a little Armenia, but you don't have any acknowledgement of the tribal lands of all the different areas we're in?
mhm,
You have all the different Sam so and so's and Saint so and so's, but not the original people. So those are
mm,
things that have to change because our children don't see worth in self because we're not represented. So
mm,
those are a lot of things that we deal with, right? We deal with the homelessness. We deal with we accountability for the sheriff. We just passed through Measure A. We just we're working on some issues within community as to how community wants to see housing and homeless services and rental rights for folks in community. We're also working on things like that. So, and as well as with our youth, doing some things with trying to get our youth involved with different aspects in the arts and music, and
mhm,
opportunities to exposing them to have a shot to be an actor or a singer or a producer or a director. Uh, our children and our people deserve to have all of that as well.
yes, they do.
Mhm.
So, Joey, is it okay if I put your Gmail address if people want to contact you, or would you like California Native Vote?
The California Native Vote Project one, because my Google folder is full and the email will probably go to spam and never get answered. So,
Okay, give me a moment.
yeah. But I thank you, Avril, for all that you do. And, I see you in different spaces and you're always received with love.
Mm.
Whether it's the little babies or whether it's the grandmas and the grandpas, the aunties and the uncles. Um, and I think that speaks volumes for the connection and the bridges that you are making in community. So, yeah, thank you for having me here also to just have a conversation with you. And my son probably hungry, so I wonder what he's gonna make me to eat.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. If you're watching this in the live, thank you for watching us. If you're watching this in the replay, we appreciate you taking the time to join us for this hour that we've been online. I appreciate you, Joey, for all the hard work that you do. And if you'd like to get in contact with Joey, her contact information is on the screen. Again, I am doing this live every day. So, if you want to come on and join us and or join me and then see who might pop in, it just might be me or it just might be one of my friends. So thank you, Connie, for joining us, and thank you everybody else for joining us. We definitely will see you in the future. I'm praying for you all, and just thank you for being here today. Ta'a pila mai. Gracias at Thank you. Good night.